Hello everyone, Max here with Fiction Rant to bring you part 2 of my series discussing the Star Trek versus Star Wars debate. This part will discuss how fast the ships in each universe can move at both sublight and faster than light or FTL speeds. As a reminder from part 1, this is a comparison of the Star Trek Federation of Planets circa the Dominion War to the Galactic Empire from Star Wars circa Return of the Jedi. I'll start by getting one major point of misunderstanding out of the way. In Star Wars, all faster-than-light travel is referred to as light speed. The ships in this universe demonstrably travel much faster than this, so it's clear that light speed in this case is a colloquial or slang term, not a literal speed. To be fair, exactly how fast any given ship is traveling in real terms is notoriously badly defined in Star Wars. Nobody's actually listing exact travel times, distances, miles per hour, or anything when they're flying around the galaxy. What we can see, though, is evidence of how far people traveled in relatively short time spans. In Phantom Menace, for example, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Amidala, and all of them travel from Naboo in the Mid-Rim to Tatooine in the Outer Rim to Coruscant in the Galactic Core in just a matter of days. For perspective, the Star Wars galaxy, according to Wikipedia, is about 100,000 to 120,000 light years across, so to make the trip of about half that in, let's say, 10 days, they'd have to be traveling at about 20 million times the speed of light, assuming that my quick back-of-the-napkin math is all accurate. In this case, the ship was a J-type 327 Nubian Royal Starship, and it made the trip using a Class 1.8 hyperdrive, and Imperial 1 Star Destroyers, which we're using for this comparison, use Class 2 hyperdrives. So they're at least similar in speed, though Star Destroyers are a little bit slower. I should clarify that the higher the number for a hyperdrive class, the slower the ship. A Class 10 hyperdrive would take 10 times as long to go a given distance than a Class 1, and the Millennium Falcon with its Class 0.5 hyperdrive could make the trip in half the time of a Class 1. So, let's look at the raw speed available in Star Trek, shall we? Unlike light speed, Warp Drive has very well spelled out speeds and its limitations to the speed that cause issues throughout each of the series, and is in fact the reason for Voyager being a series at all. If you haven't seen it, the premise of Voyager is that the ship is flung about 70,000 light years from home to the opposite end of the Milky Way galaxy, so it'll take about 70 years at maximum warp to get home. This is because warp speed, despite being faster than light, just isn't that fast on a cosmological scale. Warp 1 is the speed of light, and then it's a logarithmic scale up to the theoretical warp 10, which is infinite velocity, where you're occupying all points in the universe simultaneously, which of course the Federation cannot do. The highest warp factor you hear about regularly, though, is warp 9, or about 1,700 times the speed of light, according to Memory Alpha, the database for all things Star Trek. So that settles it, right? Star Wars ships can move about 10,000 times as fast as Star Trek ships. Fortunately, for you Trek fans out there, it's not that simple. This is because of how the different types of FTL work. Did you ever wonder why it is that when being fired upon by a droid control ship or a Star Destroyer, our heroes fly around at sublight speeds for a while taking a beating before finally jumping away? That's because hyperspace is highly inflexible. At any given location in the galaxy, there's only a few locations where ships can safely enter hyperspace. These are called hyperspace lanes, and trailblazing new lanes is incredibly dangerous because you could fly right through a star or a planet and die horribly or just get hopelessly lost with no way home. This is why in Rise of Skywalker, the lightspeed skipping Poe was doing was called incredibly dangerous when he was doing it with the Falcon, but hey, plot armor beats anything, so they were all fine and the ship sustained no damage. Warp drive, on the other hand, is highly linear. You point your nose where you want to go, jump to warp, and start moving in that direction really fast, albeit not nearly as fast as Star Wars lightspeed. Another important difference is that in Star Wars, while in hyperspace, the travelers are basically totally cut off from all external information. They can't see anything on sensors, and the only indication that people in real space get that somebody is arriving is a massive energy surge as the ship transitions from hyperspace to real space. Warp, on the other hand, doesn't seem to inhibit ship functions at all, really. The ships can still fire weapons, use sensors, increase or decrease speed, use transporters, and keep their shields up while at warp, though high-resolution scans do seem to require dropping out of warp first. My takeaway from my research on all this is that you could easily compare Star Trek versus Star Wars faster than light by just saying that light speed is like taking a flight, and warp drive is like driving a car. If you fly from LA to New York, you get there in a few hours, but stopping by the Grand Canyon along the way is basically impossible, or at least really difficult and or dangerous. If you're driving from LA to New York, you can make all the stops you want, no problem, but it'll take way longer to make the whole trip than if you flew. The other side of speed that we need to look at is how fast they can go when they're not using their faster-than-light capabilities. For Star Trek, there's impulse drive, which can propel ships at 1/4 the speed of light, or 167,000 miles per hour. Star Wars, of course, has to make things confusing, so their unit for sublight speeds is the megalight, or MGLT. How fast a megalight is of course never spelled out, but fortunately, Star Wars fans are nothing if not a bit fanatical, so some people have gone through footage and done some math, then combined this information with technical manuals to get something approaching real figures. The fandom wiki seems to have established that 1 megalight is about 640 miles per hour. Combined with technical manuals available, A-Wings, the fastest little fighters we ever see on screen, can top out at about 150 megalights, or about 96,000 miles per hour. The Empire, of course, uses TIE fighters, which are slower than A-Wings at 100 megalights, with the TIE Interceptor being capable of 125 megalights or 80,000 miles per hour. Imperial 1 Star Destroyers are capable of doing about 60 megalights or about 38,000 miles per hour. This means that Star Trek ships are nearly twice as fast as the fastest fighters in Star Wars, and over 4 times as fast as Star Destroyers while doing sublight maneuvers. So how are we measuring up here? At faster-than-light speeds, Star Wars is multiple orders of magnitude faster than Star Trek, though warp drive is still a bit more versatile in terms of what you can do with it while in transit. At sublight speeds, though, the roles are reversed, with Star Trek ships being several times faster than anything that Star Wars can throw at them. As for ground forces, it's really a case of apples and oranges in my opinion, and on the one hand, Empire uses armored transports and various beasts of burden and speeders to get around. On the other hand, the Federation just has transporters which are capable of placing personnel and material anywhere that's not shielded. So, how will this impact the overall matchup? Well, you'll just have to check out the rest of the series and see what I think about that question, but in the meantime, what did you think of all this? Did I skip over something that I shouldn't have? Are my numbers totally wrong? Please comment below, and until next time, live long and prosper, and may the Force be with you.